This weekend, more than 50,000 people will run the annual City to Surf. And while it's many years since I've run that 14-kilometre race, I remember it as being a fantastic event. And one of the things that made it so fantastic and so much different to just going for a 14-kilometre run on your own is there are people everywhere cheering you on. There's a band playing on the roof of a pub along the way. There are kids lying in the streets giving you high fives. And on that final straight down Campbell Parade on the beachfront at Bondi, there are people all along the last straight to the finish line cheering for everyone who runs past, whether they know them or not. And that cheering on, that cheering on is such an encouragement that when your legs are burning and your lungs are running out of air, it gives you the impetus to make that last final push and to keep on going. Well, this weekend, we hear from the letter of the Hebrews, this beautiful line that we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us. And because we have this great cloud of witnesses, let us run the race to the finish as well. Let's shake off all the sin and other things that hold us back. Let's keep on running the race of our faith. And I think that cloud of witnesses plays the same purpose as the crowd of onlookers and cheerers on do of the City to Surf. They are there to encourage us, and that's exactly the point the author of the Hebrews is making. Who is this cloud of witnesses? Well, this is the beginning of chapter 12 of Hebrews, and last week we read a section of chapter 11 where we hear of the heroes of the Jewish faith. We hear Abraham and Sarah and their faith extolled and praised. The section goes on to speak of David, of Rahab, of Gideon and others. And so it's a kind of the collective of all the great heroes of the Jewish faith. And this is a letter written to the Hebrews just after Jesus. So encouraging people who had been formerly Jewish believers who'd now come to believe in Jesus, saying, look at all these people we have surrounding us. Let's take their encouragement to keep on running the race. And that is absolutely good advice for us. But this is now almost 2,000 years later, and we have a whole lot more people in that great cloud of witnesses. And we as Catholics call them the saints. We have this great heritage of people from every generation of the church who we now recognize as saints, who have lived holy, virtuous lives, but are now absolutely with the Lord in heaven. And so they are the ones who cheer us on, not just in terms of their good examples. We can read their lives and be inspired by what they did on earth. That is absolutely true. That's important we do that. We learn from the saints' virtue and holiness. But also the declaration that somebody is a saint means we believe they are absolutely with God in heaven. And so it is from heaven that they are cheering us on. It's not just a memory in the past. It is they are presently alive and with God. And so they are praying for us, praying with us, cheering us on to arrive where they already have, at the throne of God. And this belief that people are indeed alive with God really shapes, I guess, our approach to Christian funerals also. We as Catholics, our funerals are not just a series of eulogies remembering the past good times with the deceased. They are a celebration of where that deceased person is now, with God, because of what Jesus has done for us. That is through time and throughout the Catholic funeral rite, we make reference to the fact that we follow Jesus through his death on the cross and follow him through to resurrection and life. It's because of what Jesus has done for us. So that's the hope we have for ourselves and the people we love who've died. But those who are declared saints by the church, we are assured this has already happened. They are indeed with God. And so it's wonderful for us to think about the various saints we know and perhaps love and have an affinity with. Think of them cheering us on in our Christian life. Where is our Christian life head? Well, the author of Hebrews says we run towards Christ, that Christ is effectively the finish line. And so the saints are encouraging us to also move towards Jesus and to move toward God the Father. Note, not towards themselves. For us to be moving just towards the saints as an end to themselves would be like us running the City to Surf and running over to one of the onlookers and stopping to chat with them on the way rather than continuing to run forward. The saints want us to meet Jesus, and so that is their desire. So what place might saints play in our prayer life then? Well, I think it is to pray with them. and say, come with me, Saint Francis, wherever the saint might be, come with me, pray with me as I run toward Christ. Show me how to run. You know the way. You've been there before. So run the race with me, pray for me. So our prayers, we might invoke a saint, but our prayers are really not directed to the saints. Our prayers are always toward God and Jesus and the Spirit, encouraged and supported by the saints. I want to say that this weekend because in our parish we have our children who are making their preparations for confirmation. And one part of confirmation preparation is for the children to choose a saint to be their patron, their own personal cheer squad, somebody they will learn from their holy life on earth, but someone they can also pray with and say, come with me, pray with me that I might receive the Holy Spirit and live out a life of the Spirit once I receive the sacrament of confirmation. So for our children, I encourage them, they might choose well a good saint for them. I want to throw in a little advertisement then for a saint that not everyone's heard of yet. Is a young saint to be, and that is Blessed Carlo Acutis. Carlos was a young Italian teenager who looks, when you see photos, he looks just like an ordinary teenage kid who likes soccer and video games, because that's what he was. He is slated to become the first millennial saint. That is the first person born in the 90s to be declared a saint. Carlos sadly died of cancer at the age of 15, but lived in his short life such a deep devotion to Christ in and through the Eucharist, and in and through his dying and his death, lived such holiness and serenity that even the doctors and nurses in the hospital were amazed at the way he faced death. Carlos loved computer games, but also computer programming, so he used his skills to set up websites about his very favourite topic, which was the Eucharist. And those websites can still be found now. I'll probably put a link in the description of this video. So Carlos Acutis is a blessed. He's not yet a saint, but he is beatified, and so anyone who's beatified can become a saint for confirmation as well. And so he's just one example of a modern saint, a very recent saint, a very relatable young saint that young people might look to as their example, their personal cheer squad as they run the race. Let's invoke Blessed Carlos and all the saints of heaven to be our witnesses, the cloud of witnesses surrounding us, encouraging us to faithfully run the race.